Who are you? Do you know who you really are? It's a simple question to ask, borderline insulting. You know who you are. Of course you do. You're you. But that simple question, I believe, is becoming a lot harder to answer in the digital online age that we live in. Humanity is connected more than ever right now. Through the online world, you interact with people in so many different ways. You could, right now, open up your phone and find hundreds, maybe even thousands of people to connect with. And you probably have a following of some kind somewhere on the internet. And no matter how small and insignificant this following can seem, those people are watching you. Their eyes are on you. So when you present yourself online in whatever way, you will be seen and judged for who you are. And because of this, we tend to obsess over how we are seen in the online world. We worry about the image we present, what the world will think of us. It's kind of hard not to, because we are being viewed by an audience. So why not alter yourself? Why not show someone who not only your audience would want to see, but someone you would want them to see? Why not present yourself in an idealized way, a fabricated way, a different version of who you really are? This can come off a little extreme, but I think we are surrounded by this right now. Slightly altered and fabricated images and personas that we project into the online world. The internet has brought everyone closer than ever, but ironically has pushed people apart, because we're not seeing people for who they really are, but highly edited and altered versions. And you may not even notice that you're doing this, but you are creating this image, this persona, whenever you interact with the online world. And over time, this other version that you've created will grow and may change. And with how big of an importance the online world has in our time right now, that phrase, "Who are you?" isn't as simple as it once was. Because now, do I mean the person who you really are, or the one you present to the world? And that is the exact idea placed within 1997's psychological horror movie, Perfect Blue. The idea of separating the real person from the fake image, or more simply, separating the reality from the fiction. And this movie and its core themes are so much more relevant now. Perfect Blue is about Mima, a Japanese pop idol who's leaving the idol scene to pursue a career in film. But this career change doesn't transition smoothly. Mima's acting career starts off with her having to perform in some very dark acting roles, something that her wholesome and cute idol personality would never be attached to. This upsets some of Mima's diehard fans, losing her much favor within her audience. Then people around her start to get impacted by her decisions, and Mima's mental state starts to collapse, leaving her in this reality-bending nightmare where she, and us the viewer, can never tell what's real and what's not. Perfect Blue, in and of itself, is a great movie. It's one of the very few horror animes that actually delivers a genuine horror experience. Horror should leave you with a deep feeling of dread, and a good horror story in whatever medium should make you think, where after the story has ended and the credits roll, you find yourself still thinking about it in one way or another. The horror of Perfect Blue is more subtle and grounded. There's no paranormal entities, just people and the fear of what they can do, along with the fear of losing yourself into your own mind. Perfect Blue was directed by Satoshi Kon, and much like his other works, reality and fiction are never clear. The second half of Perfect Blue is one of the best viewing experiences I've had. It's such a joy to watch, as scenes can play out where they bleed into each other, and you never know if they're a part of Mima's acting job or something that's happening in the real world. And that plays into what Perfect Blue is all about, separating the image or the persona from the actual person. Mima has two versions of herself, the real version and the one on stage. The real Mima we see go shopping, the one we see in her apartment, and the one who no one seems to like. Fans message Mima with a distaste for her career change. They openly dislike this new, real Mima that she's presenting. Her fans are people who obsess over her and what she presented herself as. And the stalker character obsesses over Mima the most. In his apartment, his walls are aligned with posters. He spies into Mima's personal life. At her concert, he's a volunteer helper, and even does this iconic and really clever shot where he holds out his hand as if he was holding her in his hands. but he is in love with the image of her, not the person. He loves what she presents herself as, what she markets herself as. And when she leaves the idol scene to follow an acting career, the image of her in his head shatters, which enrages him, forcing him to kill to maintain that idolized image of Mima. Because in his and so many others' heads, they can't disassociate the persona from the real person. The real tipping point for Mima comes when she has to perform in a rape scene, which completely removes her from her previous idol personality, while also completely alienating her from her remaining audience. After this performance, she trashes her apartment in a crying fit of rage, saying how, of course she didn't want to do this, but if she wanted to become an actor and follow her dreams, she had to. Who Mima isn't what everyone else wants her to be. They want her to be the idol version of herself. Later on, Mima begins to encounter visions of herself wearing her idol uniform, with this version of her not only attacking her, but mocking her, saying that she is the version that everyone wants, not her. She should have stayed an idol. Humans are social creatures. We have a want to fit in. We can change how we act and present ourselves depending on what group of people we're around. There's a disconnect from how we act in public and how we act behind closed doors, between our social life and our personal life. But with really public figures like celebrities and politicians, there's a much larger disconnect between who they are and what they present themselves as, because they have to maintain how they are presented so they can market themselves. And Perfect Blue is from the perspective of a celebrity, and does feel like a story that only a person in that position with a large following could really relate to. And I feel like that is where this story came from. That idea that fame could be your worst enemy, where the very people who built you up could bring you down. And that idea that people with an audience have their onstage personality and their behind closed doors real self. But where this movie truly becomes terrifying is looking at it through a modern lens and seeing just how much more relevant this movie is today. And that is simply because of the internet. While it's not related in any way, Serial Experiments Lain I consider to be the perfect companion piece to Perfect Blue, because both of these stories have aged incredibly well, and both share a haunting similarity through the use of the internet. And can I just add that Serial Experiments Lain is so fucking scary. Lain came out 1 year after Perfect Blue and showed a world where the internet invaded people and we become consumed by technology. That is a very basic and watered down explanation of what Lain is, but watching Lain now is so fucked up how much that show predicted. Also, while on that topic, you guys see that Serial Experiments Lain 25th anniversary thing they did? Where they made NFTs of Lain? Yeah, I can see Lain right now rolling over in a wire grave seeing that. Oh no, don't worry guys, Lain's alive. She's just playing GM Construct.
Check the internet lately.
Social media and the internet as a whole has brought everyone closer than ever. We're all connected, so of course, we're always being viewed by others. Maybe it's friends, maybe it's strangers, but now everyone has an audience. And no matter how small that audience is, we tend to obsess over how that audience sees us online. This is in everything online. Whether it's your social media, an online chat room, when you're gaming, hopping on the cord with the kittens, or even a profile on a website, we will obsess over how we are viewed by others. Much like Mima with her idol personality, we will show off a version of ourselves, the best of ourselves, the parts we want others to see. We will hide our imperfections and we will create a perfected image of ourselves to show off. And this image, we will groom and single-handedly tailor it for it to be that perfect image of us that we want the world to see. But sometimes just molding your image isn't enough. Sometimes you need to change who you are and adopt a different persona. In Perfect Blue, Mima had two variants of herself. The idol persona she had was a cute and wholesome person, but this was all for marketing. The real her was dedicated to becoming an actress, to go as far as to perform in a rape scene, completely disconnecting her from her former idol personality. But these two sides are so different from one another that Mina becomes conflicted as to who she really is. That idea of how someone could have different personas is something that we are surrounded by in the digital age. Sometimes, without noticing it, we create a separate identity, a separate persona on the internet, one that is disconnected from our real self. Because of the internet's anonymous and non-physical nature, it's very easy to recreate and alter who you are. And with all the eyes that are on you, why wouldn't you show someone everyone wants to see? And just like your image, you maintain your altered persona so you can project it to the world. If you want a universal example of all this, look no further than someone's social media. You and everyone you know's social media is a tailored projection, showing the best parts, what they want the world to see. Even though it might be slight, you will alter how you present yourself online, so you can be viewed how you want to be viewed by your audience. I want you right now to go to someone's social media that you know, and look through their posts. And I want you to think, why did they post any of this? What was the reason behind sharing these? And also think, does what they're posting align with how they are in real life? Is that a real image of them or some kind of fabrication? For a lot of it, it would have been to maintain an image of themselves. And the thing is, we are doing this subconsciously, without really knowing. It's just a given that when you interact with the online world, you will be seen by others. What is projected through social media is an altered version of who you are, and the internet fuels this persona. The more interaction it has, the more eyes get on it, the more it grows. When Perfect Blue came out, the internet was more or less in its infancy, and this story definitely seemed like one that could only happen to the 1% who are a celebrity, someone who had to have an altered personality. But now, Perfect Blue is all too relatable. Memers' struggle is something that I think a lot more people face now than ever before. How many times have you posted something online and thought about how this will impact your image? How many times have you wondered if the version of yourself that you are is the one everyone wants? The reality of the modern age that is dominated by numbers and online activity is through the online world, whether you notice it or not, you are creating a separate version of yourself. And the real fear that comes from this idea though, is what happens when your fake, fabricated personality takes over. What happens when you lose yourself into the fiction and become consumed by the fabrication you've made? When you feel like the version that you project is the one everyone wants to see. You let your real self go. This isn't uncommon with online celebrities, becoming so consumed by the personality they project, they become it. But it's a very scary idea to think of, because how much of you has already been replaced by your persona? How much of you has already changed? And that's the scariest part of Perfect Blue, how real and universal this story has become. So I'll ask you again, who are you? Really? And real quick, before this video ends, in case you're wondering, that video, you know that one? It's coming. Just please be patient.
Your words are as empty as your future. I am the vanguard of your destruction. This exchange is over.